Hello and welcome to Jazz Guitar Chord-melody, part 36. Hi, I'm Mike Hayes, and in this session we're going to further develop the idea of creating movement on a major sixth chord. And I'm going to show you a specific technique that I've used in two of the arrangements so far in the series. So let's grab our guitars and jump right in. But just before we do, I want to give you a quick reminder to subscribe if you haven't already, so you don't miss out on any of the good stuff. Okay, let's jump in. In Jazz Guitar Chord-melody Part 32, we introduced the concept of creating movement on a major sixth chord. Do you remember this image? It looks like something out of Star Wars or Star Trek. We'll be coming back to it often for some new and creative ways to rework our musical raw materials. Today we're going to look at a 2-5-1 progression in C. Here's how that would look. And now here's a typical variation. And while the major seventh is a beautiful chord that I use quite often, I'm going to leave it out of this progression to make it 2 bars of C sixth. Generally speaking, the major sixth chord is a more stable or grounded chord. It's more stable than the major seventh chord, as the major seventh chord tends to want to resolve. Okay, so now we have our basic set of chords. Let's see how we can create some movement and make things interesting. As we already know, the C6 chord contains the same notes as the A minor seventh chord. And after further consideration, we discover that we could also use the C6 chord as an F major ninth. C6 with an F bass contains the same notes as an F major ninth chord. So there's obviously a close relationship between C and F. Let's take this information and head on back to our C diminished solar system diagram. When I'm thinking about chords, I tend to not be thinking of them in terms of 1, 6, 2, 5 type progressions. I'm thinking in terms of home and away. And in this instance, I'm thinking of C sixth as my home chord and F sixth as my away chord. So I'm going to play the C sixth, then travel away from home to the F sixth chord, and then come back home by way of the C diminished seventh chord. Remember that we said we could use the C diminished seventh chord to connect any of the major sixth chords in its orbit. And since we found there's a strong connection between C and F, this chord sequence of C sixth, F sixth, C diminished seventh and C sixth would be a good place to start. Right then, let's have a listen to how that sounds. I'm going to use a Count Basie style rhythm for good measure. Okay, I'm sure you get the idea, and I'm certain you've heard that progression and that style of phrasing before. Let's take the progression for its paces, and we'll play the same set of chords starting on a different C major inversion each time. On to the next one. And one more. Okay, when you're ready, let's try this out in a 2-5-1 progression. Let's do the 2-5-1 again, only this time we're going to substitute a B diminished for the G7th chord. And of course this will create the effect of a G7th flat 9 chord. And now for the purpose of the exercise, let's move the diminished chord down 3 frets. So we'll play it where it normally would be played and then move it lower down in pitch 3 frets. Of course, you could move the diminished chord up 3 frets. In fact, you could move it all around the guitar fingerboard at the distance of 3 frets and still be playing the same chord. Now, this whole idea is to help create a more fluid style of guitar playing. And of course, we're doing it as an exercise at the moment. What you'd play and how you'd play it, of course, would depend on the tune and the people that you're playing with. It would be your response to a whole set of musical stimuli. But for the exercise at the moment, let's just try moving it around, and we'll have things moving around everywhere. for something different, we mustn't forget that we could also use chords from the major sixth diminished scale to create movement. Here's an example where I'm simply playing up and down the C6 diminished scale while the bass player plays a C background. Okay, that's it for this session, folks. I do hope you found something of interest in this lesson. As always, if you have any questions or comments, don't forget to pop them in the comments section below in this video. In our next session, we'll be going back and doing some more work on our arrangement of Scarborough Fair. So I look forward to catching up with you then, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.